Eliana stepped off the transport shuttle, her gaze lifting to the towering spires of Straxus that pierced the orange sky. The air hummed with the undercurrent of a planet always ready for battle. Around her, the metallic clanks and whirs of machinery played the symphony of a warrior race, the Alocrians, whose history was written in the blood of their enemies. As she walked towards the governmental hall, her escort, a junior officer named Ralek, muttered, "General Zivareth doesn't meet with many. He might make an exception for you, diplomat or not." Eliana's voice was calm, infused with a quiet strength. "He'll meet with me. Peace depends on it." Inside, the hall was stark, the beauty of its engineering cold and hard like its people. The walls were lined with artifacts of war, weapons from different eras, armors dented and scratched from ancient battles. They reached a large door, unadorned yet imposing. Ralek paused, his hand hovering over the control panel. "Are you sure you're prepared for him? The general isn't just our leader, he's a symbol of our might." With a nod, Eliana steadied her breath. "I'm ready." The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing a chamber dimly lit by the glow of tactical screens. And there, standing before a large window overlooking the training grounds, was General Zivareth. His figure cast a long shadow, his posture rigid, exuding an aura of untouchable authority. "General Zivareth, I am Eliana Maris, sent by the Federation to discuss terms of peace," she announced, her voice echoing slightly in the vast room. Zivareth turned, his eyes like shards of ice, assessing her. "Diplomats," he rumbled, his voice deep and resonant, "are often spies with prettier words. Why should I believe you are any different?" Eliana met his gaze, unwavering. "Because I came alone, unarmed, and in good faith. I'm not here to spy or trick you, General. I'm here to offer a future." "A future?" Zivareth scoffed, turning back to the window. "We have survived for millennia without your future. Not just survived, General, thrived. But at what cost? How many generations have only known war? Our Federation offers technology, trade, education, peace. This is your chance to redefine Alocrian strength, not as warriors, but as leaders in a united galaxy." Zivareth's silence was heavy, his back still to her. Eliana continued, "Your people respect strength, I understand that. I respect that. Let me show you that there is strength in diplomacy as there is in war." He faced her again, curiosity flickering in his gaze. "You speak of strength and peace in the same breath as if they are not opposites." "In many ways, they are not," Eliana replied. "It takes a strong leader to wage war, but an even stronger one to forge peace." "You believe I am that leader?" Zivareth asked, a hint of intrigue in his otherwise flat tone. "I do," Eliana said with a nod. "And I believe your people are ready for a change. They follow you, General. If you lead them towards peace, they will understand its value." Zivareth walked towards her, his steps deliberate. "And if I refuse? If I decide that our ways should not change? Then, unfortunately, the Federation is prepared for that as well," Eliana said softly. "But it's not what we want. I don't want. I've read about your battles, your victories. You've always fought for the Alocrians' survival. Consider this another battle, but one where nobody has to die." "Your words," Zivareth paused, scrutinizing her, "they are unlike those of other diplomats I have met. You believe them." "With all my heart, General. This is not just a diplomatic mission for me. It's a hope that my son, and your future children, will grow up in a galaxy where they don't have to fight to prove their worth. They'll be free to explore, to learn, to live." Zivareth looked away, his gaze settling on the distant horizon. The silence stretched between them, filled only by the distant sounds of drills and machinery. Finally, he spoke, "I will consider your words, Diplomat Maris. You will stay on Straxus as my guest while I deliberate. We will see if your vision of strength through peace can withstand the truths of our world." "Thank you, General," Eliana said, a slight relief in her voice. "I am at your service during my stay. Together, perhaps we can find that path." As Ralek led her away, she cast a final glance over her shoulder. Zivareth stood by the window, a stalwart figure carved against the backdrop of his world. In that moment, Eliana saw not just the warrior he was, but the leader he could be. And she knew the real work was just beginning. As Eliana Maris followed Ralek through the austere corridors of the Alocrian Command Center, her mind raced, piecing together each word and gesture from her meeting with General Zivareth. The general's posture, though unyielding as the steel of his world, had betrayed a flicker of curiosity, enough to give her hope. Ralek, noticing her contemplative silence, attempted to make conversation. Not many can hold a gaze with the general without faltering. You have a strong spirit, Diplomat Maris. Eliana smiled faintly. Or a foolish one, Officer Ralek. Time will tell. They entered a dimly lit room that served as her quarters. Your stay might be longer than you anticipate. The general takes his time with decisions. That's all right, Eliana said, setting down her bag. It gives me more time to understand your culture and perhaps appreciate the strength your people so deeply honor. After Ralek left, Eliana spent hours reviewing data pads filled with Alocrian history, trying to grasp the nuances of their society. The more she read, the more she realized how deeply their identity was entwined with their martial prowess. It was during these hours of study that she had an idea. The following morning, Eliana requested to observe their training sessions. Her request was granted, and she found herself standing on the edge of a training field, watching young Alocrians engage in combat drills. The intensity and skill were unlike anything she had seen, a dance of ferocity and precision. Commander Vera, the training overseer, approached her. Diplomat Maris, to what do we owe this interest in our training methods? I wish to understand what makes an Alocrian warrior, Eliana replied. I've read about your methods, but seeing them in action is truly enlightening. Vera nodded, a spark of pride in her eyes. Our training is rigorous. We prepare for every possible scenario. Strength and resilience are our virtues. Strength in many forms, Eliana mused aloud. What if strength isn't just physical? What if it's also the courage to change, to adapt, and to embrace peace as a new form of strength? Vera's expression hardened slightly. Our strength has ensured our survival. Change is a risk, a potential weakness. But isn't it a greater strength to evolve? To lead not just in battle but in progress? Eliana pressed gently. Vera considered this, her gaze returning to the trainees. Perhaps. It would require a great leader to convince our people that peace is not a surrender but a new battlefront. Encouraged by Vera's openness, Eliana spent the next few days with different facets of the Alocrian military, from strategists to foot soldiers, listening and learning, but also planting seeds of what peace could mean for their society. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of copper over Straxus, General Zivareth summoned Eliana to his private chambers, a rare privilege. She found him gazing out over the city, the fading light casting long shadows. You have been busy, Diplomat Maris, Zivareth's voice was low, reflective. I believe in showing, not just telling, General, Eliana responded, joining him at the window. Your people are incredible. Their strength, their dedication, it's admirable. They deserve to know that peace is not a weakness but a different kind of battle, one that they are more than equipped to fight. Zivareth turned to face her, his expression unreadable. In what battle do you fight, Diplomat Maris? What drives you to seek peace so fervently? Eliana paused, her thoughts drifting to her young son, waiting for her back on Earth. I fight for a future where our children can know a universe not defined by conflict but by the diversity of its cultures living together. My son. I want him to see that universe. The general looked away, his thoughts veiled. My duty has always been to protect my people, to prepare them for the worst. You ask me to gamble with their future. Not gamble, General. Invest. Invest in a future where your people are leaders, pioneers of a peace they helped forge. What greater legacy is there than that? Zivareth's gaze returned to the horizon. I will consider your words, Diplomat. They weigh more than you might think. As Eliana left his chambers, she felt the weight of her task. It was a monumental challenge, shifting a culture rooted in centuries of warfare. But as Strax's stars began to twinkle to life, she also felt a flicker of something else, hope. In the days that followed, Eliana's interactions grew more frequent, discussions deeper. Whether through debates with military leaders or conversations with common citizens, she tirelessly conveyed her vision. Each word, each argument was carefully chosen to resonate with Elocrian values, to align the concept of peace with strength, not opposition. Her efforts were not unnoticed. Whispers of her talks filtered through the ranks, and though some dismissed her ideas as naive, others pondered them, curious about this human who dared to challenge their traditions with such respect and conviction. As her understanding of the Elocrians deepened, so too did her respect for them. It wasn't just their strength in battle that impressed her, but their unyielding spirit, their capacity for loyalty, and their deep love for their people. These were the qualities she emphasized in her discussions. These were the strengths she argued would make them formidable peacemakers. This understanding led to a breakthrough, a scheduled public address where Eliana was invited to speak about her mission, about peace. As she prepared for the speech, she knew this was her chance to reach every Elocrian heart, to connect on a level that transcended diplomacy. This was her moment to truly change everything. Eliana stood at the podium in the central square of Straxus, her heart pounding as she looked out over the sea of armored figures before her. Today, she would speak not just to warriors but to a culture steeped in the art of survival through strength. The sun cast sharp shadows on the angular architecture of the city, mirroring the tension that filled the air. "Warriors of Straxus," she began, her voice amplified to reach the farthest edges of the crowd. "I stand before you not as a conqueror, but as a herald of opportunity. In the vast expanse of our universe, where countless stars hold countless worlds, the ability to fight has been your beacon. But there is another beacon, the light of peace." A murmur ran through the crowd. Eliana continued, "Peace does not require you to sheath your swords and bow your heads. No, it asks you to wield a different kind of strength. A strength that lies in building, not breaking. In healing, not harming." As she spoke, Eliana noticed General Zivareth standing off to one side, his expression unreadable. His presence was a powerful symbol, his decision to attend her speech a clear message of his openness to her ideas. "Consider the possibilities," she pressed on. "Alliances that bring technological advancements, trade that enriches your children's future, and collaborations that could see Elocrians leading not just in battle but in galactic councils." From the corner of her eye, Eliana saw a group of officers, those loyal to the old ways, whispering among themselves, their body language closed off. She knew these were the individuals she needed to convince, or at least sway to consider her perspective. True strength, Eliana's voice grew more passionate, is the courage to embrace change, to challenge the status quo, not out of weakness but because you are strong enough to believe in a greater good. Just then, a disturbance rippled through the crowd. A faction of dissenters, led by a high-ranking officer named Tarek, pushed through the crowd toward the front. Eliana's security detail tensed, ready to intervene. "Enough of this," Tarek shouted, his voice carrying across the square. "We are warriors. Our ancestors conquered galaxies. We will not forsake their legacy for a diplomat's dream." Eliana paused, allowing the echo of Tarek's words to fade. Quietly, confidently, she addressed him directly. "Commander Tarek, yes, you are warriors. Your ancestors did conquer galaxies. But they did so to survive, to protect their people. Now, I ask you, what are you fighting for? To protect, or simply to perpetuate battle?" The crowd fell silent, the tension palpable. Tarek faltered, his certainty wavering under the weight of her words. Eliana softened her tone. "I do not ask you to forget your past. I ask you to honor it by ensuring your future. Not through endless war, but through securing a peace that allows your children, and your children's children, to prosper." As she spoke, Eliana saw General Zivareth step forward, his presence commanding silence from the crowd. "Let her speak," he said, his voice resonant with authority. "She speaks of a path we have yet to tread. It is worth considering." Grateful for his support, Eliana took a deep breath and delivered her final plea. Change is the arena where the brave venture. It is uncharted, fraught with risk, yes. But it is also where the greatest victories can be won. Not just for us, but for generations to come. The speech concluded to mixed reactions, some nods of agreement, murmurs of consideration, and a few still openly hostile. But the seed had been planted, the idea of peace as a form of strength introduced. As the crowd dispersed, General Zivarath approached Eliana. You have stirred many hearts today, Diplomat Maris. Perhaps even mine, he admitted, his voice low. Thank you, General, Eliana responded, sensing the shift in his demeanor. I believe in your people, in their potential. Not just as warriors, but as peacemakers. Zivarath nodded thoughtfully. We will see what grows from the seeds you've planted today. It seems I have much to consider. In the days that followed, Eliana continued her work, meeting with different segments of Alocrian society, from scholars and young warriors to seasoned commanders. Each conversation was a step towards understanding, each argument refined by the responses she received. Meanwhile, a discreet investigation initiated by Zivarath into the faction opposed to peace revealed a deeper plot to undermine any shift towards diplomacy. The conspirators, including Tarek, had planned not just to disrupt the speech but to eliminate Eliana, believing that her death would cement their position. Armed with this knowledge, Zivarath made a public declaration, exposing the plot and arresting those involved. His action was a powerful endorsement of Eliana's mission, proving his commitment to at least exploring the path of peace she proposed. As the news of the conspiracy and its foiling spread, the public's opinion began to sway. Skepticism turned into curiosity, hostility into cautious optimism. Eliana's vision of peace, once a distant dream, began to shimmer on the horizon, a tangible possibility fueled by the combined strengths of a diplomat's conviction and a general's courage. The treaty signing ceremony was to be held in the Great Hall of Straxus, a place historically reserved for military parades and declarations of war. Today, it would witness the birth of peace. Eliana and General Zivarath stood side by side, the weight of impending change palpable between them. Today is a culmination of not just our efforts but of the courage of every Alocrian and human who dared to dream of peace, Eliana addressed the assembly, her voice echoing off the steel walls adorned with relics of past battles. Zivarath took a deep breath, his gaze sweeping over his people before settling on Eliana. This peace does not mean we forget who we are, nor does it mean we lose our strength. It is a new chapter, where we wield our power to forge alliances, protect prosperity, and ensure the security of our children's future. One by one, leaders from both the Alocrian military and the Federation's diplomatic corps came forward to sign the historic treaty. With each signature, a cheer rose from the crowd, a sound of unified hope and renewed purpose. After the ceremony, Eliana and Zivarath walked together through the hall's grand archways, their steps in sync. You have taught me a great deal, Diplomat Maris, Zivarath said, his voice reflective. About courage, and about the strength it takes to lay down arms for the sake of peace. And you have shown me the resilience of a true leader, General, Eliana responded warmly. One who is willing to change his perspective for the betterment of his people. They stopped at a balcony overlooking the city, where the setting sun cast a golden glow over the metallic landscape. There will be challenges ahead, Zivarath noted, some may not accept this change easily. That's true, Eliana agreed. But the hardest part is over. We've shown them that peace is possible, that it's worth the effort. Now, we work together to maintain it, to build on it. Zivarath nodded. And what of you, Eliana? Will you return to your federation now that the treaty is signed? Eliana paused, considering his question. My mission here was to secure peace, but my work isn't done yet. I'd like to stay, help with the transition if you'll have me. There's much to be done in terms of integration and education. I would have it no other way, Zivarath responded, a rare smile breaking through his stoic facade. Your insight will be invaluable as we navigate this new era. As they turned to go back inside, Ralek approached, a data pad in his hand. General, Diplomat Maris, there are reports coming in from the outer colonies. It seems the news of our treaty has already had an effect. Several local leaders are requesting mediators to discuss their own peace terms. This is just the beginning then, Eliana said, a spark of excitement in her eyes. Indeed, it is, Zivareth affirmed. It seems we have started a movement, one that could change the face of the galaxy. In the weeks that followed, Eliana and Zivareth worked closely to implement the terms of the treaty. Educational programs were introduced, teaching Alocrians about Federation cultures and vice versa. Joint military exercises were planned, focusing on defense and peacekeeping rather than conquest. The transition was not without its hurdles. Skepticism and resistance had to be managed, with both Eliana and Zivareth addressing concerns in public forums, reinforcing the benefits of the treaty. Slowly, the tide of public opinion turned more favorable, with stories of successful joint ventures and cultural exchanges becoming commonplace. One evening, as they reviewed reports of a successful trade agreement between an Alocrian colony and a Federation planet, Zivareth looked at Eliana with a contemplative expression. "Do you think we will see the day when our children speak of war as a thing of the past?" he asked. "I do," Eliana answered, her voice filled with conviction. "Because of the path you chose to forge with me, because of the trust you placed in the idea of peace. One day, our children will know only that, and they will thank us for having the courage to dream." As the stars shone brightly over Straxus, a world no longer cloaked in the shadows of war, Eliana and Zivareth knew that their shared vision of a peaceful future was no longer just a dream but a burgeoning reality. Together, they had changed the course of history, proving that even the greatest warriors could become champions of peace.